This is Dave's Had Enough 187. This is a video response to Saintllluminated, my buddy Nick from Real Gamer 27's podcast that I did. If you ever seen it, he does a great podcast. We haven't done one in a while, or I haven't done one with him in a while. I'm pretty sure he hasn't done one in a while. I'm tired doing this video. But Saintllluminated Nick video response to my whole Facing Reality episode 1, is Nintendo playing it safe? And another video from Dave. And yeah, pretty much, this is a video response to Nick, like I said, from Saintllluminated. Sorry, man, for the long response, or the late response. I'm tired of doing this video. I'm just wore out. You know, my mom just had surgery yesterday. A lot going on with that. It gives you a lot of stress where you're tired. I've been wanting to do this video response for a week now, and I wanted to do it this weekend, but I had other videos I had to do, and I just didn't get around to it, so I'm going to do this response the best I can. I just watched her video again, and I watched mine again to see if I missed anything, so mainly what I'm going to get at. It shouldn't be too long of a video. Pretty much, you had a great video. You spoke a lot what you talked about was on point. But what I found wrong with your video is I was driving this way, going straight, and you were driving with me. And then all of a sudden you started turning right, and I kept going. You kind of take the video into a whole other direction, talking about, you know, media first, gaming second, you know, and going into that whole thing, how people, that's not right, that people want that and all that. I wasn't talking about that, man. You know, you talked about how, you know, you don't want to buy a console. You want consoles to last. You don't want to buy one every 3 years. And it was all kind of on it. Some of it was on the same page. Some of it wasn't. Really, what I was getting at in my video is that, you know, Facing Reality episode 1, is Nintendo playing it safe? What I was getting at is mainly, you know, if Nintendo did these things that, you know, these other consoles were doing, you know, maybe their consoles wouldn't last forever. You know, I never said it was it was a right thing for a console to break down. You know, I never agreed with that. I don't think it's right. I think they should perfect these consoles, you know, and they should be up to par when they come out. But when you're trying new things, and, you know, they have to meet deadlines and all that shit, and they're trying to get, you know, these new consoles to pull off new things to advance from their last gen consoles, you know, move from a new generation. Unfortunately, how technology is, Nick, like, you know, you're going to have hiccups. You know, I didn't say every console from, you know, Microsoft and Sony, you know, pretty much, you know, had issues or they broke down and all that. You know, mainly it was the 360. The PS3 had some problems, if I remember correctly. You know, after people had them for about 5 or 6 years, you know, that's how mine went. You know, my brother had his since day one for a long time, and it lasted for a while, 7, 8 years, you know. So it wasn't like, mainly the 360 had a lot of issues. PS2, I believe, had some issues. In the beginning of this generation, the PS4 and the Xbox One had issues, but, you know, these consoles are becoming more like computers. And that's the thing. Like, you know, computers have issues where they have to replace, you know, hard drives and, you know, get a new graphics card and all that stuff. Not a tech guy, but they have to replace them. Computers don't last forever, you know. It's like cell phones. They don't last forever, you know. They don't. You get a new phone all the time. That's how technology is. I'm just saying Nintendo's just staying in that lane of, you know, the same shit, you know, and not really advancing with their consoles, and not... If Nintendo did come out with a more powerful console this generation, like if they would have, with the Wii U being more powerful, they might have had third party. Now with them not having a powerful console where they might have to take that risk of having issues, they don't have third party, you know. Unfortunately, I'm not saying it's alright Nintendo come out with a broken console, and my PS4 is not broken. I'm just saying there was issues where some of these consoles broke down. It was a small percentage this generation. I think it was like 7% or 3% or something with the PS4 when I called Sony, and it was mainly over the HDMI or the regular, I think it was the regular plug, the regular cord. When you push that cord, it popped the thing out. So they had to send your PS4, and so that wasn't too much of an issue. And they did have some hardware failures too, like with the overall system, not just the cord plugging in. but it wasn't as bad as like the 360. The PS3 had issues, but towards, it wasn't as bad as the 360. So I'm not saying no, Nintendo needs to come out with a console that's going to break down. Yes, I agree with you how you said, they need to perfect it and all that. I want all these consoles to be perfected, but it's not really in reality nowadays. They're trying all this new shit. Like, you think when the Morpheus comes out that thing ain't going to have issues? But eventually they'll perfect it, where it might, it's possibly going to work. Unfortunately, like the Kinect, now I never had the old Kinect. Is the new Kinect better than the other one? Or, I'm sure they perfected that a little bit. With technology and newer stuff, you gotta give it time to perfect it. That's the day and age we live in, man. That's all it is, But you went on a whole other thing maybe you took my topic and added to it. I think that's what I'm getting from you, but I wasn't really talking about all that. I understand what you're saying with media first, gaming second, how it is nowadays, and people think it's right with Nintendo with gaming first, media second. That wasn't what I was getting at. I never said in my video about them that's holding them back. I never said that once, but I will say it is. Now I will say, because with them not having the technology of the PS4 or Xbox One, or at least being up to par, that's majority of the reason, most likely why they don't, have third party, because third party is not going to develop. They don't want to develop for a console. It's a pain in the ass to develop for. It's, they have to downgrade the games, do all that bullshit, for a console that maybe is possibly not even going to sell their games well because of how it's doing anyways, So it is kind of holding them back, but I never said that in my video. What I was getting at, which you kind of understood with what you were saying with your video, but then you went in a whole other direction, like you left this out. That wasn't what I was getting at. I wasn't getting at the whole, it's okay to have broken. I never said it was okay to have a broken console. I don't want broken console. I'm just saying, if Nintendo is trying, doing half this shit that Sony and Microsoft is doing with their consoles every generation, maybe they wouldn't have these consoles that last forever, like, the original NES that lasted forever. Some people have it to this day, the original one. GameCube's lasting forever, Wii's lasting forever, the Wii U, I had issues with my Wii U, but I didn't see too many people else that had issues. I had issue with the Electric Eye, where they had to replace that, and the gamepad, losing connectivity. I couldn't step a foot away from it, and that was an issue. I just sent it into Nintendo. See, they're trying something new with that, and that didn't work. But I'm telling you, if they were doing half the shit, if they were doing like with the PS4s doing Xbox with just like their other features, and had a powerful console up to that level where it's doing all that power under the hood, and maybe they wouldn't be in the same spot. You follow me on this? That's where I don't think you're following me. I think you understood me with the games. If it was doing half the shit of like a game of Assassin's Creed with like what Nintendo does with their exclusives, like where it's just same old shit, just fresh coat of paint and some new gameplay mechanics, there you go. But if they were doing shit like Assassin's Creed with all these characters on screen, and how that game had issues, which they fixed now, that's due to patches. It is nice you get a game from Nintendo and it's all polished, but you're not really getting anything new. We're not getting this like advanced Mario. He's like just barely a step above what he was doing last generation. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's fine if you want that, but wouldn't anybody want to see a Nintendo advance? And the sad part is, if Nintendo did do that, you're like, well, if Nintendo does it, everybody's going to pick at Nintendo. Well, unfortunately, the bad thing is, Nintendo's in a spot. If they keep doing this shit where they're not doing anything else, they're going to be in a bad spot. And when they go to do something new with their console, like what PS4 and Xbox doing with all these features, they're going to be way behind. It's kind of like how Sony's behind Microsoft with their online. You know what I'm saying? I will agree. When I had a 360 compared to PS3, I don't know how the big difference is with the Xbox One and PS4, but at the 360 and the PS3, Microsoft was ahead of the game. I can't say that for the Xbox One and PS4 because I don't have an Xbox One. I will get to play one of my brothers when he gets his back from being repaired. Now, his was a case where his was broke, but Microsoft said that to him on the phone. It's very rare for this to happen. He had hard drive failure. But I'm just saying, like, Nintendo is going to be way behind, kind of like with their whole HD thing. Them waiting to get with the HD, they had trouble making games, where games were taking longer. If they knew HD and stepped into the HD era last generation, they wouldn't be in this mess. But Nintendo, with their whole online thing, they're so far behind because they're not even trying. I think what it is, like, Nintendo's so stubborn and don't want nobody to mess with their games or not, and they're most likely not. They're going to have to hire somebody probably from EA or one of these third-party developers to help them with their online service to get it going. Somebody knows online to help them. They're probably stubborn and don't want nobody helping them. That's why they're in the position with the online service they have now, and that's why it's free, because it's complete shit. Okay? That's why you don't have this voice chat, and when you do get voice chat, it's so fucking awful, like it was in Smash Brothers and that lobby chat. That was awful quality, and it's because they're so far behind, but without them even trying this shit, and they're going to be way behind, kind of how Sony is. It was last generation. They were behind of Microsoft, because Microsoft was already doing it when they first came out with this whole online shit. And Sony was doing it with the PS2, but not like Microsoft was. So that's why they were behind still in the PS3 and Xbox 360 generation. You were on a whole different page on your video. I was over here talking about, maybe consoles wouldn't last forever and all that. And you were talking about, like, how the whole media thing, that media first, gaming second. I understand what you're saying, but it wasn't what I was getting at with my video. And that's basically what I want to address this video. Yeah, you made some really great points. I, too, don't want to buy a console, and, have it not last that long and all that. But, I had got some pretty good use out of my PS3. That lasted a while, but people had issues where that didn't work. It was a small percentage, but the 360 was a fuck-up, PS4, I'm having no issues with that. My brother had problems with his Xbox One, but, these consoles are trying new things. They will perfect it eventually. But with Nintendo not even trying it, they're kind of staying in the, they're playing it safe, And that's basically what I was getting at with my video, with the whole thing about these consoles not lasting long. You were on like kind of the same page, but you took a right. I'm going straight, you're going right with the whole thing. You're kind of like making it, I don't know if you're trying to make it like I was like going with that in my video, or you wanted to add all that with like you said I forgot to say all that. I left that all out. That wasn't what I was getting at with my video. I'm just getting at, if Nintendo was doing half the shit these other consoles were doing, maybe these consoles wouldn't last so long. Same thing with their games. Maybe if they were, these games wouldn't be as polished. If they were doing half the shit like a game like Assassin's Creed Unity was doing, or a game like Skyrim, they would have bugs and glitches that they have to fix out. They wouldn't have these polished games. But that's my point. There's your video response, buddy. I'm sorry it's so late. I'll leave your video in the description. Great channel. Check Nick out. Like I said, sorry for subbing so late. I have subbed to over 500 people. Sorry, man. Tell me what you think in the comment section. Do you guys understand what I'm talking about now? The ones that didn't understand it, my Nintendo playing it safe. Not saying Nick, but are you just some people that just don't want to understand what I'm saying? That's how the Nintendo fan base is. They don't want to live in reality. I think Nick understood what I was saying, but he wanted to add stuff. It could have been that situation too, or maybe he just didn't follow what I was saying. But I think he wanted to add stuff. More videos to come. Thank you, YouTube.